So finally, we see the SU7, the electric car made by Xiaomi, the cell phone maker. After Apple cell phone maker announced putting its stop to their car effort despite 7 years of research and development. This is really interesting because Apple announced that they're canceling the program, but Xiaomi's car has been successful to the point where orders were in the tens of thousands in just minutes after the announcement of the pricing. It's 1/4 the price of a Porsche. But performance-wise and technology-wise, many will say it's not much different. In fact, in terms of the Xiaomi car, some technology factors are actually more advanced than the Porsche. This is why now we see US and the Europeans are now in a state of shock and then trying to do everything to block the further development and the global sale of Chinese electric vehicles, because Chinese electric vehicles have moved so far ahead of other makers elsewhere. There's another piece of news in the same area about Lucid. $1 billion were put in by PIF, the Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund, into this American company called Lucid that's making electric vehicles as well, that was trying to compete against Tesla. What happened? It IPO'd in 2021. Today, share price has fallen 98%. So it's not doing very well. What the US and Europe is trying to do, however, is to block access of Chinese vehicles to their markets by claiming that China has built too many manufacturing facilities for the electric vehicles, excess capacity, and so on and so forth. Now, what's really interesting is if we looked at the numbers, the number of Chinese cars in the US market share is 0%. How is there excess capacity when it's 0% of their cars are in the US market? Even though many people would like to buy it, but you block it. Europe, 20% of the Chinese market is European vehicles, and only 8% of the European market is Chinese vehicles, even though that number is growing very, very quickly because the electric vehicles that the Chinese make are outstanding, exceptional, and far cheaper than the European brands. But if you look at the numbers of 20% versus 8%, China really should say, God, Germany, you have too much excess capacity. You have dominated our market with 20% of our market, and we only have 8% of your market. That means you're making too many cars. You're exporting too many cars. This is the hypocrisy and how ridiculous the Western governments are now in trying to block China's further advancement and development, even on something which is good for the earth, good for the world, new and renewable sources of energy, no more fossil fuels, or reduction of fossil fuels, reduction of carbonization of the earth. Even for something like that, they will play political games and try to block China. It's okay. Ultimately, consumers will decide, and ultimately, the global south will decide.